اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Alhamdulillah, salatu wassalamu ala rasulillah wa alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. We thank Allah, we make shukr to Allah that tonight we meet again in our the top Hadith Narrator series. Today we talk about the third individual, the third giant of Hadith, which is the Anas bin Malik radiallahu anh. We cover. Anyone remember who's the first one? Who's the first one? Abu Hurairah, mashallah. And who was the second one? No, the second one. The second one was Abdullah bin Umar. Yeah, what's the word for that? The aesthetic one, the very aesthetic, very zuhud, right? And now we have will be slightly different. This one is blessed with a lot of wealth and family and everything. So we're gonna talk about this big giant Anas bin Malik radhiallahu anhu. All right, so because I'm not using my own computer, so I'll be a little bit of okay. Yes, okay. So this is series. It just quickly mentions to everyone that we have already talked about Abdul Rahman bin Sakhr ad-Dawsi, which is Abu Hurairah, and then Abdullah bin Umar. We talked about it last month. So now we talk about Anas bin Malik, and inshallah, I think we will not be able. We will skip Aisha radhiyallahu anha because we already talked about her. But let's see whether it's probably worthwhile having that as well, because, and I think talking about our mother Aisha in 1 hour will not do justice, right? She is like a humongous spectrum of things that we can learn from her, from our mother Aisha radhiyallahu anha. So Abdullah bin Abbas radhiyallahu anhuma, and then Jabir bin Abdullah, and then later on will be the Sa'ad bin Malik al-Qudri. So let's start about this individual, this giant. So let's start with the family. This is quite unique because Anas bin Malik comes from a very, put it this way, like a celebrity of, not celebrity in terms of it's more sort of a celebrity of Jannah, right? We're gonna discuss about this. His father unfortunately, his father did not embrace Islam. His father is Malik bin Nadir. Then we're gonna talk about his stepfather. His stepfather is also very famous as well, Abu Talha, and I think you might have heard about certain stories where someone give up the whole field, the whole garden, in the sake of for the sake of Allah, and we might be hearing that stories. But who actually that person is actually the stepfather of Malik bin Anas, and we also gonna discuss a little bit about, because we cannot talk about Anas bin Malik without talking about the family, because the blessing that Allah gives to this family, subhanallah, which is Sulaim. This we're gonna talk slightly about her as well. I don't know. I missed one thing because I think he has a maternal aunt by the name of Haram. We're gonna talk about a little bit about her later on. Basically, he comes from a family that is probably in the Ansari family. Is probably, if not the one, if gonna be the top family in terms of piety, in terms of the closeness to this religion. Let's talk about his father, Malik bin Nadir. He is from there's two tribes in Medina, in Yathrib, the Aus and Khazraj. So he's from the Khazraj tribe. When his wife, which is Sulaim, embraced Islam, right? So she actually embraced Islam a lot earlier, even before meeting Rasulullah SAW. So that's probably Umay's, whoever Rasulullah sent at the time. This Umay's, what's his name? Umay's, that was sent by Rasulullah to Yathrib originally. Then some of the people from Khazraj and Aus, they embrace Islam, and then they go to Medina to make this the Treaty of Aqabah, right? So there's this lady, Sulaim, actually embraced Islam even before even before the coming of Rasulullah SAW to Medina. And yes, Assalamu alaikum, brother. And when he realized that his wife embraced Islam, and at the time this quite rampant, a lot of people drink, and he says, no, 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 I'm not going to embrace this religion because this religion is alcohol is banned, so no way I'm gonna embrace this religion. And this is probably not the first time we heard this. As we heard other stories as well, where someone, because of so many things, this is haram, so many things are not allowed in Islam, they rather not do that, right? And again, this is you when you make your nafs as the when you slave on yourself into a nafs and slave yourself into a nafs, right? You have more desires, so that then because of that, okay, I'm not gonna I'm going to embrace Islam. And eventually he passed away doing when he was doing his trip. And at the time then, Sulaim became a widow. And the Sunnah became a widow just after the finish of the Iddah. And Abu Talha came and asked for a proposal for marriage. And Abu Talha, who was actually very famous within his tribe. He's known for the wealth as well, and probably one of the biggest sort of leaders with this the within this tribe. And Sulaim says that there's no way I can reject you. You're like probably one of the what do you call that, the the top men, the most good looking or something, or the most good looking as well as a wealthy as well. So this is the presence of Abu Talha, and he came and asked for the marriage of Sulaiman because she just become a widow. And yes, he was a very famous personality. And Sulaim says, I cannot, it's very hard to reject you, but if you want to marry me, I want your sahada as the mahar, as the dowry. So I think it can be derived that it's allowed to have dowry or the mahar. It's not always finance, not always financials, right? Right. So mostly in certain traditions, it's always associated to mahar, right? I don't know. Then Indonesia back, I remember back during I got married a long, long time ago, but I remember what was trend at that time was people getting married and they use the the prayer mat and the prayer cloth. This has become the mahar, and one did this, and everyone followed through. It's like everyone you heard, and what is the mahar? What is the dowry? The dowry is just a prayer mat, and so on, right? Nowadays, I heard people like they use money now with this certain amount, like which is 9,998 or something like that, right? So there's many way of doing that. And again, Rasulullah SAW, the mahar mostly the finances, but probably translate to our money right now is probably 400, 500 Hong Kong dollar. I think probably around, probably don't quote me on that. I think around 4,000 or 400, I can't remember. But there is some certain amount of money that you gave as a mahar, right? And again, this is a different cultures, different. But I think in Islam, it is allowed to have the dowry as a non-financial. Even when we talk about one of our mothers, Safiya radiallahu anha, she was actually captured as part of the captive, right? She was captured from her tribe, from the Banu Nadir tribe, and she became the wife of Rasulullah by the mahar, by releasing her from become a slave, so become a free person. This is also as a dowry. So in this case, Abu Taha married the mother of Anas bin Malik, Sulaiman, and then they were using Sahada as a dowry. So it is allowed. Just recently, there was a big news in Indonesia as well when someone says, "What is the dowry?" The dowry is my recitation of the Quran. Right? So I don't know whether, yeah, that's quite interesting story. Anyway, what is the story about this individual? The father of a few things. He is known for his, of course, he mostly uh, participated in all the battle, and in the Battle of Uhud, Battle of Uhud, the Muslim lost, suffer some defeat when Khalid bin Walid came in and performed attack from by doing a route there. And at that time, Abu Taha saw the Rasulullah was, and then he just sacrificed my neck, your Rasulullah, instead of your neck, right? So if someone's like, in like a secret service, right? Become between you and the bullet, or between the bullet, right? So this Abu Talha is the one who came to Rasulullah, and then my neck is like become a human shield to Rasulullah. If you think about when you hear stories like this, right, when someone actually sacrificed their life for someone that you really love, that is it shows the level of love that someone has, right? And this is the Abu Talha, and of course Anas bin Malik raised by this person because he's a stepfather. Uh, he was raised by him. Of course, it affect him as well. Um, there was one story when Surah Ali Imran. Uh, I don't know. The font here is very hard for me to read. Lan tanalul birra. You will not attain piety hatta tunfiku mimma tuhibbun, until you give what you love. This is very hard. It's very easy in your tongue, but it's and you will not attain taqwa. Actually, bir is actually above taqwa. Above you will not attain piety until you spend something that you love, right? And everyone loves probably. You love your laptop here, right? Right? And when Abu Talha heard that, right, and he came to Rasulullah SAW and said, Ya Rasulullah, I have some business, right? I have some properties here and there, right? You know what? Let me give you my best property, right? And at that time, we gave up. we, it is quite common at that time. The Arabs will name their pets, will name their rides, which is their camel. They also name their garden or their properties as well. So I can't remember the name of the property, but Ya Rasulullah, this is my property. Is the most fertile one, the most productive one, and so on and so forth. I want to give it for the sake of Allah because it's the one that I love. And Rasulullah SAW was amazed, and then he, okay, you can give it, but don't forget to put all the fruit and everything to all these people around you, right? So this has become the first ever endowment. You know endowment, right? The wakaf, right? So the first ever, and when he after he did that, he went out and he went to his garden, and then he didn't even step to his garden because thinking this no longer belonged to him. And I call his wife, Sulaim, let's go. Why? This is no longer our land, right? What happened? I sold it or I gave it to the one that will never be outbid, right? Will never be outbid. And I give it to Allah. Alhamdulillah, mashallah. And see, you can imagine, like, if you tell your wife, I gave away my biggest car or my biggest house, and see what happened, right? And again, this is shows the Sulaim, when she heard that, she was wow, and then they just left. And this is Abu Talha donated his best property, and that is actually the first ever endowment ever, not only in Islamic world, but I think that's probably the first endowment ever. I don't know whether you know, right? The all the big universities in the world, like for example, I just put a note in here, like that, like a Harvard University, they actually have an endowment, a cost of 42 billion US dollar. What is endowment actually? Endowment, I don't know what is Arabic. It's called wakaf. You heard that before, right? When you give your property, you give your money, is and then someone like invested, like a company, someone invested, and whatever the margin and the benefit and the profit from that sort of business, they will go back for the people, go back to the society, right? So imagine that just after years and years and years, and after you pass away, and all the monies and everything being circulated, and it's all coming back to your bank account, which is a Jannah account, right? And this is what happened. So Abu Talha donated his best property. I just found out this is actually the biggest endowment. Is Harvard University 42 billion, University of Texas 32 billion, like a Yale and everything almost 30 billion. This is all how much money they make, and they can run a schools and so on. Just recently, I had a friend here in Hong Kong a few years back. He went back to Indonesia because at the time the Indonesia start, um, when normal in the past, but when people say wakaf or the endowment, people always think about putting money into building masjid, right? But this is not necessarily the case anymore, right? So people start realizing that rather than putting money into the masjid, they can use that and run a business, and then continue running the design. And because of the endowment, there will be no one person actually own it, right? It belongs to a group or society, or what do you call the charity organization. So it will continue making, like, they can build that, and then after that they probably like a real business, and of using that money from that business, they will support the hospitals and the orphanage and stuff like that. And because of that, they're not really depend on the donation anymore, right? So they want to cut away from this donation, and I think this is one of the things that they realize, and especially in Indonesia, they realize the huge potentials, and we're not being harvested yet. Yeah, I guess. And again, this is because of this ayah. Abu Talha was the first ever to become someone who has that endowment as a waqf. We still now we talk about the mother Sulaim. Uh, Her real name is Rumaysa. Even that, Rumaysa is probably not even her real name. It's probably even her nickname as well. And then, and as I mentioned before, she was really the first convert, the first revert, even before the Treaty of Aqaba, even before some group of people from Medina and came to Rasulullah SAW. They make the treaty, and then we made by Rasulullah, you can come to that. Even before that, she already embraced Islam, to show that his convictions and so on. And when Rasulullah did hijrah, on the day when Rasulullah arrived there, uh, Sulaim come to Rasulullah SAW, Ya Rasulullah, this is my son, Anas, right? I gave it to you, so it become the khadim, it become your servant, right? And then for that on, uh, Anas bin Malik every day will come to Rasulullah SAW and do errands for him and whatever he needs to do for 10 years, for the whole life of Rasulullah SAW. And if you talk about being with Rasulullah SAW, is actually the best school, right? It's actually the best school for him. So he get advice, whatever advice that he listens. This is a good thing, right? He's a kid. He's what 10 years old. Whatever advice that he listen, he become a hadith, right? Yeah, whatever. Yeah. For example, he was asked, "Yeah, Anas, please maintain your wudu, right? And then don't forget to make sure you wudu before you go to bed, and so on and so forth." This become a hadith, right? And don't forget, if you before you eat, you say basmalah and then you eat, and so on. It's everything. And again, this is like a school. And Rasulullah SAW actually made a specific dua, Ya Rasulullah, I am your khadim, I'm your servant. Please make dua for me. And this is a very famous dua that Rasulullah SAW made. Ya Allah, made him have plenty of children and plenty of wealth, and then bring him to Jannah. What do you want more? Right? This is pretty much everything, right? So at the end of his life, he was saying, I got all my family, right? He gets plenty of family, and he got his wealth. He's actually become very, very rich, one of the very rich. Like, people even talking about, if he just walk, right, and he just pick up a stone, it could be gold, right? Because of that. And then people would like to, can I have your name in my business? Because every time someone has a business and got Anas bin Malik name in that, become prosperous and so on. This is when, because of the dua of Rasulullah Sallallahu is granted by Allah, he became one of the Sahaba that is becoming very, very wealthy on that. So that is one of the blessings of being the servant of Rasulullah Sallallahu. He became uh, abundant in wealth as well as abundant in family. Uh, I want to tell you the story about the, I think I call it the pinnacle of patience. This is one of my favorite story. So Sulaim, the mother of Anas, and his stepfather Abu Talha, they have children together. They have one child, right, by the name of Abu Umair. Abu Umair is also very unique as well. Abu Umair, at probably about 4 or 5 years old, And there was one hadith in Sahih Bukhari when he was very famous when Rasulullah SAW, he had a pet bird, and one day the pet bird died, and Rasulullah came to him and asked, what is a yeah Abu Umar, right? Ma fa'ala nughair, what happened to your bird, right? He made it as a rhyme, he made it as to cheer, right? Even that statement has been analyzed by so many muhaddith and scholars and so on, because it's just very amazing. But anyway, we talk about this Abu Umar. Abu Umar one day fell sick, and he was very young, 4 or 5, and Abu Talha had to make a trip, and then he went out on a trip, and then what happened after that? Abu Mer passed away, so he died. So everyone did the janazah to him and everything. And the thing is, Abu Talha is still outside, so he's on a trip on a business or something like that. And then when he came, this is I really find that this is amazing story. When he came the first time, he says, "Where is my son?" Right? Of course. And Sulaim says, don't worry, don't worry. You're tired. You just came back from here. And where is Abdullah? Not Abdullah. Well, where is Abu Umar? Abu Umar is he's now in more peace than ever, right? Okay, so it's good. So he probably said probably he's healthy now. He's sleeping. Don't disturb him. He's sleeping. So Abu Umar is now peace. I got a typo there. It should be Abu Umar. Abu Umar is more peace than ever than before. Okay, and then what happened that night? Sulaim actually prepared herself for the husband. Probably put perfume and everything, and basically they did what the husband and wife did. And then uh, the following morning, Abu Talha was okay. I want to see my son now. Okay. Oh, hold on. Before you see my son, before you see our son, let me ask you this question. Our neighbor, right? He loaned something from someone, right? He loaned something from someone, and then the owner of that item came to collect it because it's belong. But our neighbor did not want to return it. What do you say about that? No, this is not right. Yeah, the owner of the item can take anything because he's the owner, right? You cannot say that. You cannot say no to that. You have to give it because he's the owner. Yeah, and then she said, Abu Umair, our son is a loan from Allah, and Allah is the owner of him, and He took him for him, and it was just this is like a pinnacle. The mother normally will not be able to handle such a things. Now, not only that, she was quiet, she was calm, she managed to calm her husband, and that because of that, Abu Talha was so shocked, right? Really didn't know what to do, and he came to Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, say, Rasulullah, this is what happened to me. I don't know what to happen. And Rasulullah SAW says, may Allah bless you for what happened last night. And this is the story of again the story of the pinnacle of patience. Like, not only you can contain it, right, but you can actually make people bear with it in a way that you can imagine a husband will coming back from here, he will find out the following day. So this is again the more stories, and they happen to who? They happen to the mother of Anas, the Sulaim. Another one, but now you heard this hadith, right? I'm sure everyone heard this hadith about Rasulullah SAW. Yeah, Bilal, I heard your footstep in Jannah, right? And then what did you do? And now every time I finish wudu, I did my turaka, right? You heard this hadith before. This hadith is actually very long. Not very long, it's quite long. The start of this hadith actually say, I saw Rumaisa. I had a dream in Jannah, Rasulullah SAW. In Jannah, I saw Rumaisa, the wife of Abu Talha. And I saw a big castle. And I was asking, whose this castle is it? And the person's being asked, this is the castle of Umar bin Khattab, right? And then I heard the footstep of Bilal. So what it means is Sulaim is it is one of the person, or the very few persons that can actually get the glad tidings of Jannah. We talk about the Asara Mubasara, the 10 people who get promised Jannah, right? Why they are so famous? Because first of all, the hadith was actually mentioning every single one in one hadith, right? But there's also other people, so like for example Bilal. Bilal is in Jannah definitely because of this hadith. And then there's one time Jibril came down and he says, Ya Rasulullah, your wife will be coming here, and says Allah says salam to her, and then I say salam to her, and then her house is already in Jannah, right? So this is again the glad tidings of Jannah. And Rasulullah SAW in his dream, of course, the dream of the Prophet, they are revelations from Allah, and also Rumaisa, the wife of Abu. So yes, this is one of the. That's why if the husband's like that, and the stepfather's like that, and the mother like that, you can now imagine what the Anas bin Malik will look like. All right, just a quick one. There's another individual or persons within the family, which is the aunt of Anas bin Malik by the name of Haram binti Milhan. Uh, I is actually there are relationship between Rasulullah SAW and the family of Anas. I think they're probably because Rasulullah sometimes visited her and take a nap over there. That means there must be a relationship of mahram, right? So Rasulullah often visit the family and then took a nap there. And then one day Rasulullah woke up and laughing. And said, "What happened to Rasulullah? I see my ummah go riding on a ship." Uh, and this is what this is like people of Arabs, right? They never see sea, they never see river, right? So the concept of swimming does not exist yet, let alone riding a boat and a ships and so on. So it is not something that is beyond imagination. um, and what happened, it is considered to be like, subhanallah, it's a bizarre prediction. So how can you in a desert, right? And this what happened at the time of the Caliph of Muawiyah, when they conquered the Byzantine. Right? After they conquered the Byzantine, they have all the technology, the naval, everything. So then that's what happened. So Haram says, Ya Rasulullah, make dua, I'll be among them. Right? So Rasulullah make dua, anti minhum, yeah, you'll be one among them. So during the time of Muawiyah, when he sent the expedition to Cyprus, and Haram, for some reason, I don't know whether there was an announcement who want to go to the campaign against the Cyprus and so whatnot, and then Haram probably raised her hand, yeah, I want to do that, and that's what happened. So that the she joined that and went there, and she passed away. When then after landed in Cyprus, she passed away, and until now I've never been there yet. So probably one day I'll go to that part of the area. Is they have There's a masjid named after her, the Haram Masjid. All right. Number of stories about this lady Haram. One of the things that she did when Rasulullah took a nap. I don't know whether you heard this before. That when Rasulullah sweat, someone took the sweat, and so what do you use that for? I use it as a perfume. So amazing, isn't it? Our prophet has the sweat smells like a perfume. Anyway, another one. Who else there's? Oh yes, another one is his uncle by the name of Anas bin Nadir. He, one of the Battle of Uhud. He's the one who just when he heard about there was a rumor at the time Rasulullah passed away, Rasulullah died, and so on. And he was just okay. Rasulullah has died, and I have nothing to live with now. I just want to go and you just charge everyone, and I can smell Jannah. He's the one who and because he's heard that Rasulullah is no longer with them, so they just go on fighting until he actually passed away and he died. So this is the whole family, a lot of famous and heroic story of the family. So the first half an hour just only talking about his family. All right, let's talk about the persons in the character that we talk about today. So as mentioned before, he was born about 10 years before Hijrah. So when Rasulullah SAW Hijrah made the Hijrah to Medina, of course he was just 10 years old, and he became the servant for Rasulullah for about 10 years, right? And then there's one famous hadith, and I like one of the things I like about Anas bin Malik is because the hadith about him is about, you can extract that hadith from Rasulullah SAW about narrated by Anas bin Malik, is all about parenting, right? And one of his famous hadiths says, I've been the khadim of Rasulullah SAW for 10 years. Never Rasulullah SAW hit me, right? Never Rasulullah SAW rebuked me. Never Rasulullah SAW say oof to me. Never says, why did you do this? Why didn't you do this? Never Rasulullah said that, right? And you can imagine, right? How can you? There's always I remember one thing, right? There was I don't know. We talked about it last time, brother, about someone like use violence or use like what do you call that, hit and so on. If you're not listening, if you're not studying well, and a hit and everything, um, and I even sometimes in the circles of teaching Quran, and sometimes we sometimes heard that people use like what do you call the stakes, and he asked the kid. There was a video clip I saw that someone tried to memorize Ar-Rahman, Ar-Rahman, right? And the teacher was correcting him with the stick. It's just so yeah, it's just so not true, right? It's just so not correct about that. And again, what is this, right? Is we always believe that you have to be. There's a good book in the parenting. It's called Unconditional Parenting. I don't know. This is probably a good book to should. That sometimes we as parents, anyone parent said you're a parent, right? You're a parent, so not yet, not yet. Okay, only you. All right. Sometimes being a parent, right? So if you do this, I'll give you that. If you do this, we have a vacation. If you're doing nice, let's go to have nice food and so on, right? So if you do this, I'll give you that. If you're naughty, I'll take your computer back. You cannot play your game, right? If you don't do this, this is what's called conditional parenting, right? And the book actually teach the right way is actually unconditional parenting. Is you are wrong, you are right. I still continue giving you love, right? And it's a very good book, right? And people start utilizing it. That you can Google that in Amazon about unconditional parenting. When you read that and you compare to the hadith of Anas bin Malik, for Rasulullah Subhanallah. So there was one particular hadith when Rasulullah asked Anas bin Malik, "Why don't you do this?" And then he went out, and then he forgot kid, right? He saw someone other kids playing, and then he just joined them and they were playing, and then he completely forgot, and suddenly what happened was Rasulullah lifted his ears with smiling and joke. Did I tell you to do this? Oh yes, oh sorry, now let me go, right? There's no rebuke. Why did you do that? Did I tell you not to do that, right? And this is completely. I think this is one of the things about parenting, and why Rasulullah SAW is the uswatun hasanah, is the best role model because of this, right? So we a lot of things that especially at the time in Makkah, during that time in Medina, hitting a child for disciplines and everything is quite common, right? And Rasulullah has completely changed that. So yeah, this is no hitting, no rebuking. All right. All right. He was about 10, 11 years old when the Battle of Badr started, so he cannot consider to be one of the Badriyun, the Ahlul Badr, but he's the one who sees, who saw, who witnessed the Battle of Badr. But then after that, he participated in almost all battles with Rasulullah SAW, right? Yes, and again, this is always the closeness of Rasulullah SAW with him, and always being playful and everything. All right, so what else? Okay, and one particular hadith when he asked Rasulullah SAW, Ya Rasulullah, in the hereafter, in the Qiyamah, the Yawmul Qiyamah, where can I find you? Look at this. If you miss someone, if you really like into someone, right? and you start believing that, oh, I need to meet him, right? And there's always feeling of missing and so on, right? Ya Rasulullah, I know you have a different status later on in the hereafter, but if I want to see you, where will I see you? And Rasulullah says, find me in Sirah. If you cannot find me in Sirah, find me in Mizan, which is the scale. If you cannot find me in Mizan, find me in the Haud, which is the Al Kauthar, the lake where Rasulullah, with his own blessed hand, will give us all the drinks from this. And again, you can derive some things like this. This is one of the Safa of Rasulullah SAW in three different places, which is the Sirah, the Mizan, the scale, and the Haud. And again, there's so many gems that we can extract. I'm not gonna talk about it, but some of them is really about the parenting, it's about dealing with the children and so on. And you can see common, right? Any child that raised in the house of Rasulullah SAW, they all become giant. Uh, Ali bin Abi Talib is one of them, right? Zaid bin Haritha and his son Osama bin Zaid. Look at them. Even Zaid bin Haritha, almost a lot of scholars believe if Zaid bin Haritha was still alive when Rasulullah passed away, he could have been the first caliph, not Abu Bakr, right? Because of the Zaid bin Haritha is just amazing. So it's every kid they all become giant, they all become a big one. This is about the parenting. Uh, After the demise of Rasulullah SAW, during all the caliphs, he took the positions of being a governor, being a lot of positions, the political positions that he took during almost all the Khulafa, and then finally he settled in Basra. After the four caliph, he had a good business, as I mentioned to you. Wherever he went, he always had a good business. And then when he started to give classes about hadith, and for him hadith is just whatever Rasulullah advised me and I advised him, and that's become the hadith, right? And then because of that, he is known for big large halakah, and a lot of famous tabi'in learned from him, including one of them is Muhammad bin Sirin. So it's a lot of things happening around that. Is Basra. Basra is where is it Basra? Do you know Basra? Do you know where Basra is? Where somewhere in Iraq. Not where is the Basra is Iraq right now, right? So you know that after when Ali bin Abi Talib became caliph, he actually went to Kufa, right? When they moved the capital to not Medina, they moved it to where the Iraq is right now. All right, so there's a couple of stories out, and then what happened? I don't. There's a lot of stories around that, but I just want to have a small compact stories about that. You know, there was a big tensions within the caliphs at that time, which is the Umayyad Caliph, and there was one particular individual, which is one of the Sahaba, Abdullah bin Zubair. He declared himself to be another Caliph, and then the two Caliphs, and of course you know what happened if there are two Caliphs. They're all yeah. So as you know, I'm not going to talk about. We talk about Abdullah bin Zubair in other stories, but he's the one who asked, okay, you've been here in Basra for too long, please come back and stay in Medina, and probably you can do your halakha, you teach in Medina, and so on and so forth. And Abdullah bin Zubair at the time declared himself, became one of the caliph. And just to cut the story short, Abdullah bin Zubair actually was, I don't know whether you still remember, so he went to Makkah, and then the army of the, I think it's Yazid at the time, the army of Yazid came, tried to attack Makkah, and actually kill Abdullah bin Zubair, and then crucified him in a pole like that. Crucified, not necessarily like a cross, but hanging on the tree, hanging in the wood, right? And that is what happened if politics and people hunger for power and so on. But anyway, we're not going to talk about that. We talk about it in some other time. There was one particular individual by the name of Hajjaj bin Yusuf. He is the one who, what do you want to call him? He's the biggest tyrant ever. He killed a lot of people. And at that time, even because of some group of people, they're still companions, the Sahaba in Medina, they refuse to have Yazid as the Caliph, right? They refuse them and whatnot, and they what happened? Yazid sent the troop, right, and just go to Medina, right, and then ask them if they don't wanna bayat to me, they don't wanna what's the bayat in English?
Pledge allegiance.
Yeah, if they don't want to pledge allegiance, right, you just destroy all of them, right, and that's what they did. So they uh, they even went to Masjid Nabawi, right? They ramped everything, they raid everything, they kill hundreds of companions, Sahaba, right? So and not only that, and which is something is quite sad actually in the history of Islam, right? Not only that, they what is the right way to say that? I wanna find the right word, but I find it very hard to find that they uh, I cannot find the word. Right. Anyway, they rape women as well. So there were stories about that a year, just less a year after that incident, a lot of babies were born out of that. So they not only did, and that happened in the holy city of Medina, right? So the Sahaba were killed, and this is the tyrant. And then interestingly, uh, Anas bin Malik says over 100 of his descendants is actually killed in that incident as well. So his children or grandchildren and grandchildren. And because it's one of the dua of Rasulullah, give him a lot of descendants, and then he got a lot of descendants from that. Anyway, just a little bit of Hajjaj. Hajjaj is always, humiliated and persecuted Anas. And then one day Anas says, okay, I want to write a letter to Caliph. The Caliph at the time is Abdul Malik bin Marwan. This Hajjaj is the person who's in charge of Medina, like a governor or like a military general or something like that. So he wrote a letter, and then you know what? If Jesus had a servant and then he's still alive right now, the people, the follower of Jesus, will probably treat him like, and I am the servant of Rasulullah SAW, and I've been treated like this, right? And Anas and Abdul Malik bin Marwan sent a letter to Hajjat, but Hajjat being Hajjat, he just he didn't do that. Well, but he came there and asked for sorry, but the apology is more sort of what's the apology for the Trumpology? It's not really apology, but sorry, but sorry. Right? Anyway, just to have the story short, he finally went back to Basra, and then he settled his bus. He was blessed with wealth, as the dua of Rasulullah SAW, and then at the end of his life, he went blind. At the end of his life, and that he was known for continue for long prayers, right? And there was a hadith. There's I think who said that? I think Jabir bin Abdullah, who says, I never see someone who resembles the prayer of tahajjud like Rasulullah SAW more than Anas bin Malik. And what does it mean? That means you do your tahajjud until your feet swollen, and that's Anas bin Malik. And how can it be? He saw Rasulullah and everything. So he's known for that, and he passed away at the very uh, almost at the end, almost the last Sahaba who passed away at the age of 103. Died in Basra, and then he's probably one of the last companion, if not the one. It's probably one of the last companions to pass away, and he had with him some locks of hair, and he has the cane of Rasulullah SAW with him. And then when he told to when I die, and just bring this cane and some locks of hair of Rasulullah to my grave, and yeah, he's buried with the relic of Rasulullah SAW. All right, so that is the story of Anas bin Malik. He's known for um, he's known for his the servant of Rasulullah SAW. So everyone know if someone the Al Khadim, the only servant of Rasulullah SAW is him. He's known as one of the longest life. Being that the longest life, that means he had opportunity to spread the hadith and more and more and more and more people. So and then he got tested with the likes of Hajjaj, the likes of, because when you see that after the demise, after the end of the Khulafa Rasidin, there's a Khalif Yazid, and so there's a lot of stories, the death and the massacre of Hussein, for example, Hussein bin Ali, and so on. This is around the time Yazid was a Khalif for about 2 or 3 years, but the impact he did is just massive, right? He killed the companions, he killed even the grandson of Rasulullah SAW. So that is the story about our character today. It's only not more than 1 hour about uh, our character today, which is Anas bin Malik.